Okay, we have a quorum. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll call the meeting to order. Item 2 on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the May 24th, 2018 MAPS 3 Citizen Advisory Board meeting. Are any comments or discussion?
Yeah, I've got a question, a couple of questions about the minutes. On page copy off guard. I thought we were going to wait a little bit longer here. On page 2 of the minutes, having to do with the process. Could we postpone the minutes till I find it and move on to the next? Is that okay?
That's okay with me. So we'll come back to item 2 in a moment. Item 3 is to receive the MAPS 3 revenue and expenditure report ending May 31st, 2018, and the MAPS 3 budget and obligation report as of June 7th, 2018.
You have in your packet the MAPS revenue and expenditure report for the period ending May 31st, 2018. In its usual form, on the revenue side, we have $113,607, fiscal year of $75,455,893, and total program revenue $822,564,287. On the expenditure side, we have for the month $4,035,658, fiscal year of $91,544,455, and total $408,262,780. We also have the budget and obligations report for the period ending June 7th, 2018. A lot of stuff going on, but it's spelled out there for you. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we accept the report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I found my question.
Okay, we'll go back to item number 2 on the minutes.
In item 9, new business of the meeting minutes, the first paragraph, I just need clarification of what I've seen. Third sentence, noted each subcommittee would submit recommendations to the advisory board, and then the advisory board would forward the recommendations to the city council. I interpret that to mean that we would not deal with those recommendations in any way prioritizing the other, and I thought that's what we were going to do, that we would just see those recommendations by each subcommittee.
I think this was just written in general description of how the process would be. It's not detailed. There'll be subcommittees will come up with their lists, prioritized however, and then they'll be brought to this board, and this board will discuss them.
Okay, well, this doesn't say that. That's the reason I asked the question. So that's fine. That's what this is. And then the second question, the second point of the correction has to do with item 10, subcommittee reports. It's the very last sentence. I think that the clarification needs to be on the 2 areas that the Florida Senior Wellness Center will be looking at. And in the last sentence it says the preferential areas were southwestern and western Oklahoma City. And David, if I recall, I think western is a little not very clear or accurate, because I think we were talking about actually what I would call the central, near northwest or whatever, but certainly not western.
We can change it to however you want to describe it.
I think we should, again,
What do you want it to say?
I think we should say the central northwest.
Central northwest?
Yeah.
Near northwest.
And this one has a better idea. When we were talking about, what is it, 23rd, 63rd, between Portland and, I forget the exact, which is central, it's the middle, as opposed to
near Northwest, or,
Inner city Northwest. I like that.
that's inner city up to 63rd?
It's not Lester.
Okay.
So,
So what's your preference?
what's your, inner city Northwest? I'm okay with that.
Move approval of minutes with corrections.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes as corrected. Any other comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Show it pass. Okay, item 4, presentation on Maps 3 trail improvements, Phase 3, Project 1, Lake Draper Trail, Project M3-T003.
In an effort to keep you updated with what's going on, I know we can't all go out to all the project sites, but want to periodically update you with what's going on with construction. Remember that the Draper Trail is split into 3 projects. Today, we'll go over 2 of those projects. The third one has really just started, so there's not a whole lot to report on that. That's why we don't have a third one. But we'll start with the first project, and that's with Cabness Engineering, and Brett Cabness is here to show you what's going on with his section of the trail.
Good morning, committee. My name is Brett Cabness with Cabness Engineering, as Mr. Todd had alluded to. Quickly, just want to bring you up to speed on the progress of construction at this point in time. Just briefly reviewing the project overall, it's a 13.5-mile trail that encompasses Lake Stanley Draper. The project was split up into 3 different equally sized projects. Those were all budgeted at $3.4 million each for a total project of a little over $10.2 million. To date, we have taken bids on all 3 projects, the first one being our project, T003. That project came in at a little more than $2.7 million, well under the original $3.4 million budget. Project A was $2.8 million, and then Project B, which Robbie Williams with Triad Group will elaborate on in a few minutes, was 2.8 as well. So total award to the original construction projects is about $8.4 million, which is generally a $1.8 million lower than the original budget for the overall trail project around the lake. This project, our project, is the first one that was bid and under construction. It goes along the western sides of Lake Stanley Draper. It's a little under 5 miles in length. It has adjacent connections to the Draper Marina area as well as the Cross Timbers riding area. And our project begins at generally southeast 89th Street, parallels Draper Drive on the east as it winds its way along down towards 104th Street, and then jogs over towards the marina and then down along the water's edge, comes back out south of there about 119th Street, where it crosses over from the east side of Draper Drive to the west side near the Cross Timbers Trails or Cross Timbers riding area, and then meanders its way along adjacent to the roadway down towards the water treatment plant at that point in time. Then it goes down below the dam and terminates, our project terminates about midpoint, where it then picks up with the next project, which is C Corporation at that point in time. Now, with the budget availability, we are going to add a small parking lot of about 10 to 15 parking spaces at the corner of 104th and Marina Drive. That is getting ready to be under design in the next few weeks, and we'll be ready to get that constructed with this project as well. So just to kind of give you a few pictures and give you a quick up-to-date where we're at with construction. Our project construction began the middle of March, right after the groundbreaking ceremony. That was the 7th of March. Started with the initial installation of all the erosion control measures, silt fence, silt dikes, things of that nature. we wanted to make sure we protect erosion runoff from our project into the lake. And so it's critical because that is our water supply lake for the city of Oklahoma City. So we started in middle part of March with the rough grading, and at that point in time, at this section you see here, starting about 89th Street and working our way south, the first lift of asphalt for the trail was installed in mid-May. Kind of looking at some pictures. This first picture, West Draper Drive, there's on the right-hand side, and you see the proximity of where the trail is going to be in relationship to the existing road. Again, erosion control measures are in place, and we started the rough grading at this location in mid-March. The next picture, there we go, is the first asphalt base course. And again, this is probably the closest location we are in relation to the trail. We are outside the limits of what they call the clear zone. So any traffic veering off of the roadway has time to recover before it gets to the trail and the pedestrians and the users of the trail. This is near 104th, looking south, a little before we get to the marina area at that location. Here we've got a little bit of a spur that came off of the main trail that goes to the existing parking lot for the marina area. We wanted to have a little bit of a connection there for patrons to be able to park in the marina parking lot when it's not being used by the boating folks. You can see the rough grading is taking place along there. You see the erosion control silt fence in the background there, as well as a nice view of the lake and the proximity of the trail to the lake in that location. Same location, just have asphalt down, and you notice that there are some curb pin machines getting ready for the installation of the curb that are going outside of the trail, and then we will come back with a final lift of asphalt to match up so we have a nice even smooth surface from the curb all the way across the trail at this location here. Now, one of the next picture is generally we wanted to have, at the subcommittee's recommendation, have the trail go along the lake shore in at least one location through this area. It was a great opportunity to get close and see the water vistas as well from the trail. So what we've looked at in this area here is how we have gone along the shoreline and meandered, following the shoreline the best we can. Again, rough grading of the trail is in place today. That actually has been covered up with asphalt for the first lift where you're seeing right there. Lake Stanley Draper is there to the right. When this picture was taken, the lake was about that normal pool elevation, which is about elevation 1190. Our trail at the lowest spot is elevation 1191, so we're about a foot above what the maximum water pool elevation is for the lake. Now, as I told the subcommittee members yesterday, I never bet against Mother Nature. There will be a time that the lake will get above that point in time, but we believe we've set the trail elevation to where it's not going to be inundated by high water from the lake at that location. And then as we continue on south, one of the cross drain areas you see in the central part of that picture is being installed for drainage from one side of the trail to the other. Again, we have some areas in this location looking south near point number 4 access road, where we have some small vertical and profile changes through here, as well as some horizontal curves. So it's not just a straight trail from point A to point B. We've incorporated a lot of meandering turns for the pedestrians and users of the trail to navigate around. The next section is about the location between 134th and 109th Street. 119th Street, excuse me. This is the location where we do cross from the east side of Draper Drive to the west side near the Cross Timbers area. This was also the location where we had some of the challenges with existing utilities. I can tell you that all of the grading is basically done for the project, and we've started asphalt work for almost 85% of the trail now. We have not incurred any utility conflicts with this project. So give credit to our staff as well as the contractor in being able to mitigate those as they've come up through there. This picture, again, West Draper Drive is now on the left-hand side of the photo. This is an initial grading section as we go through some trees. We did give the contractor some leeway as he was going through the construction. If he did encounter trees such as what's in the photo right here, if we could make minor adjustments in the trail alignment to save those trees, we're going to do that. I know there was a question yesterday in the subcommittee member meeting that are those roots going to be intrusive to the trail and destroy the trail? In this section, we will not, because the blackjack oak trees like that have a root system that is more directly downward as opposed to a cottonwood tree whose root system goes out more. So we do take that into account. The field services folks also are looking at those kind of things. We want to protect our investment in this trail in the long run as well. With that, the next picture just shows, there we go, some of the asphalt that was in place. Now, this particular location right here is where we are crossing Draper Drive with the trail. And if you notice the clear view in the background here, West Draper Drive with the trail, is when we have a crossing with a roadway at this location, we wanted to make sure that we had enough visual sight distance for both the trail users as well as the vehicular traffic on Draper Drive to see that there are a trail crossing come up. We've also put in advanced warning signs on both the trail as well as West Draper Drive to alert the motorists and the patrons as well as you're getting ready to have cross traffic through here, so be advised of that. So this is a good photo of where that's going to be at. And then as we get closer towards the water treatment plant where we're going to take off below the dam at this location, there we go. You see the dam and then the roadway is in the upper left, and you see how the trail goes down towards the bottom of the dam here. Now, we didn't want just a straight shot ski slope, so we do have some meandering curves that are very negotiable to bike riders in this location as well. This picture, since this picture has been taken, they do have asphalt over that in that location as well. Now, one thing that we did encounter in this location here, and this is towards the termination of Phase 1 trail where we meet up with CEC's trail. The water treatment plant is going through an expansion down below the dam, and their low-lift pump station is under construction, and our trail basically butts to their project right now. There was discovered an electrical junction box that during the survey was covered with weeds. We did not find it until we started construction. That we are going to adjust the trail alignment slightly around that. We're going to work with the contractor that's building the water treatment plant facility down there to make sure what we do does not impact what they do and vice versa through this. So we are working through that. We have a progress meeting out on site tomorrow, so hopefully we have everything finalized at that point in time. But it is just mainly a minor deviation in the trail alignment at that location. We get back on to our planned alignment before we make up the connection point with CEC at the termination of our project. Schedule. We started back in October with the bidding process. The project was awarded late January of this year. Groundbreaking, as many of the members here attended, was in early March. At that point in time, construction began like that, and that began with the initial grading of our section. This was a little bit, about a month longer than what we had originally anticipated. We anticipated a February groundbreaking, but to date, project's process and progress has gone really well, even with the rains. We've been able to keep on pace. The base course for the entire trail should be in place by the middle of July. Curb and guttering should be in place by the middle of August, and final asphalt lift somewhere around September. And as the contractor's finishing up his final lift of asphalt, he'll obviously be shouldering up, placing sod, signs, striping, things of that nature. And we anticipate by the end of September this trail being close to completion at that point in time. So with that,
I want to point out that's just your section of the trail.
yes, this is just our section. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wished it was everybody's section, but that didn't quite happen. Okay, with that, happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments? Very, very good. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Item 5 on the agenda, presentation on MAPS 3 Trail Improvements Phase 3, Project 3, Lake Draper Trail, Project M3-T003B.
So continuing on, the second piece of the trail is with Triad Design Group, and Robbie Williams is here to talk about that.
Good morning. Just start going here. I'm not going to go through a lot of the same repetitive things that Mr. Cabanis just went through, but I will give you an overview of our project. Our segment is about 4.5 miles. We begin at 89th and Midwest Boulevard, and we're on the north side of the trail, north side of Draper, and on the east side of Draper Lake. Our trail pretty much follows Midwest Boulevard and North Stanley Draper Drive. We're about 25 feet off the road, which meets the clear zone that Mr. Cabanis had mentioned for cars to recover. We do have several drainage structures that we are extending from the roadway, and in those cases we do bring the trail closer to the road, but in most places there's already guardrail on the roadway, and where there's not, we're installing new guardrail. We will also construct a new parking lot at the southeast corner of North Stanley Draper Drive and Midwest Boulevard. Again, our budget was $3.4 million. Our current contract amount is the original, which is $2,820,000. And essentially, our contractor has cleared the trail alignment. Through our portion, we have a lot of vegetation that had to be cleared. So at this time, mainly all we've done is cleared grading and installed drainage structures. So that's what you're going to see here. So here we're looking north along Midwest Boulevard, and you can see we're just laying the trail in to match the ground. Again, we're paralleling Midwest Boulevard. This is the corner where the parking lot will be constructed, and that parking lot is to my right in that corner. It will have 15 parking spaces with handicap. We're also installing solar lighting that can be programmed by the city to operate when they want the lights to turn on and off. Again, another picture of the alignment. Here's where we begin to get into the heavy wooded area. To go back, our project's about a month behind the previous project. We had to go through the Tulsa Corps of Engineers for our project because they had some concerns of wetlands and the vegetation. So we did a wetland study, and we presented that to the Corps, and we obtained their approval. So we were basically told to just minimize tree removal. So that's what we're doing. Again, this is just another picture. They all look alike.
A lot of red dirt.
Here's an example of the culverts that we extended for the trail. Here's another picture along Stanley Draper Drive. And the last one, this is where our project ends and connects to CEC, who, their project has just started. Going through the schedule, we're basically, as I mentioned, 1 month behind. We believe by the middle of August, we'll complete the grading and drainage. The middle of September, we will start installing the asphalt, and we hope to be substantially complete by the end of October. This is all provided that we have a normal dry summer. So with that, if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions or comments?
I'd just like to clarify, when you say that you're 1 month behind, you're not behind the schedule, you're 1 month behind phase one of the
That's
project.
correct. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I might mention that both Zane and I had the pleasure to freewheel ride this ride with Pete White and Mark Stonesipe. And so we went on what was asphalt and then quite a bit of that beautiful orange dirt that you saw. So we really got to look at the progress, and it's pretty exciting. And this is going to be a fun trail. You have glimpses of the lake, and you also have a great little wilderness ride too. So a lot of people are looking forward to this being in this part of the city. So we're really excited, Robbie and Brett, with what we've got going. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Item 6, recommend resolution approving change order number 14 and amendment number 17, MAPS 3 Trail Improvements, Phase 2, Project 1, I-44 West Will Rogers Trail, increase of $3,232, Project M3-T002A.
As we continue to finalize this project and we're doing our punch list, there's some things that come up, and this barrier curb was one of those things that was near a generator that the design team and the Parks Department, who will ultimately operate and maintain this trail, felt like this was needed. And then in the amendment side, there's actually a cost correction. There was a typo on an item, so there was an $8 credit for an item that was in there. And this comes with the recommendation from the subcommittee.
Been moved and seconded. We approve the resolution. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. Item 7, recommend resolution approving change order number 7, MAPS 3 Will Rogers Trail Phase 2, Project 3, increase of $14,400, Project M3-T002B.
At the request of the subcommittee, for this part of the, for all of the trail, we made sure there were directional signs. In some areas, as you cross an intersection, it's not real clear that the trail might go left, and it's just a crossing that goes straight across the intersection. So we're going to install some letters that indicate where the actual trail path is. And then also with need to do some MAPS 3 logo branding on the trail. We'll be doing some very large stick-on type logos that will go on the trail. So this comes with the recommendation from the subcommittee also.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. Item 9, recommend resolution approving change order number 1 and amendment number 3, MAPS 3 Sidewalks, Phase 4, Project 2 Improvements, increase of $31,300, Project M3W004A.
I think you skipped one.
Oh, I did.
I think you do 8.
Okay, excuse me. I have to read that again. Recommend resolution approving change order number 3 and amendment number 5, MAPS 3 Sidewalks Phase 4, Project 1 Improvements, increase of $66,135, Project M3-W004.
This is the project that we have going on in South Oklahoma City. And this is the things that we've seen time and time again as we get out in construction. All the field conditions warrant that we make some of these adjustments. And you'll see in here in the change order, there's inlet frames and grates. So those inlets that are in the curb, if they're adjacent to sidewalk, we don't want to build sidewalk and then have Public Works have to come out and replace those. So as we see the need, we replace those so that it doesn't tear up the sidewalk in the future. Pull box replacements, the pull boxes are these boxes that you don't see unless you get out and look, but they're underground boxes where the wire comes in from the signal controllers. And then we have all the quantity adjustments, and in those quantity adjustments, you'll see things like curbs, aggregate base, and higher strength concrete. So very routine that we've seen before. This also comes with a recommendation from the subcommittee.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. Now number 9. Recommend resolution approving change order number 1 and amendment number 3, MAPS 3 sidewalks, Phase 4, Project 2 improvements, increase of $31,300, Project M3-W004A.
This is the other project that we have going on in North Oklahoma City, and just like I just described, there's various things. We have a manhole cover replacement, several manholes, and then pull box replacements, and then there is also quantity adjustments, like I mentioned on the previous project. Again, aggregate base, integral curb, adjusting valve boxes, and those kind of things. So this comes also with a recommendation from the subcommittee.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. Item 10. Recommend resolution approving change order number 17, MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center number 2, increase of $51,833, Project M3-H003.
This is some items that are necessary as we wrap this project up, but the main item is this additional subsurface drainage. So at the front of the building, there's a roof drain that comes out, and it drains a substantial part of the roof, and it's emptying out right near the front doors. This was dealt with originally in order to try and value engineer and keep our budget, stay within budget where we needed to be. Here we are wrapping the project up. We have some money still available. We feel like this is a real necessity because as we get into the winter months, you know, in the morning it might be just cool, water drains out, and at night it's going to freeze, and it's right there by the front door. So there's just a lot of water going in. This would remove a little bit of the sidewalk that's already there, but it would construct an underground drainage system that will capture that water as it comes out of those drains and not allow it to flow across the entry point and the drive, and it will discharge it out into the swale that's out on Walker. So that's the majority of the thing. There's also item 3, some detention pond repairs. Literally the day after we did the ribbon cutting, somebody drove their car into the detention pond after it had rained several inches and rutted it and tore up sod. So we're needing to repair that.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. The resolution passes. Item 11, recommend resolution approving change order number 11, MAPS 3 streetcar storage and maintenance facility, increase of $15,365.58, Project M3-S006.
So as we complete the storage and maintenance facility for the streetcar, we also have items that we need to clean up, and you can see there's a breaker upgrade, there's mezzanine gate revisions. These are all relatively small items, jack plate upsize, paint the wall cap, and then a testing rep for those jacks as we test those. So this comes with a recommendation from the subcommittee.
Second.
Resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Item 12, recommend resolution approving change order number 12 and amendment number 11, MAPS 3 modern streetcar main line, increase of $271,058.24. Project M3-S007.
You may have noticed we have a lot of streetcar construction going on downtown. And with that comes a lot of issues that come up during construction. I won't go through each of these, but there's just items that come up. Temporary asphalt that needs to be added. Bump outs is where, the curb bump outs is where the curb is brought out into the parking areas to better demarcate where those are, and it's because of OCS poles. Steel plates so that we can keep traffic moving in places. All kinds of striping modifications that we have going on. Just a lot of issues. Storm drainage revisions as we get underground, find that the storm sewer isn't exactly as-built showed or what you would expect. There is a paving credit on here if you'll look at the second page. Pull boxes, additional sod, pedestrian pole push buttons, just multitude of things as we try and finish this up, but it's very consistent with what we have done in the last few months as we try and get to the end of this construction project. So this comes with a recommendation from the subcommittee.
Okay, the resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. Item 13, recommend resolution ratifying and approving addendas numbers 1 and 2, MAPS 3 Lower Park Demolition Package 2, awarding contract to Midwest Wrecking Company, LLC, $425,850, and approving contract and bonds, project M3-P014A.
So we've done some work in the lower park, done a little bit of demolition, but this is the really large package that we have going down there. And after this is completed, all the structures will be removed, all the fences will be removed. It will be pretty much a blank canvas so that we can begin construction here soon. This comes with the recommendation from the Parks Subcommittee.
Okay, the resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. Item 14, recommend resolution approving reimbursement to the Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation, MAPS 3 Oklahoma River Phase 3 Whitewater Facility, $759,614.73 from excess collections of the Oklahoma City Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund, project M3-R004.
I want to point out that you've been given a revised resolution. This was a revision that came out of the subcommittee. And today we have Kathy O'Connor here. She's been working with the Boathouse Foundation on some issues out there, and I'd like to invite her to the podium.
Thank you. Good morning. Kathy O'Connor with the Alliance for Economic Development. We began working with the Boathouse Foundation and the Riverfront Redevelopment Authority several months ago to begin to examine the possibility for private development along the Oklahoma River to help complement the other facilities and activities that are in place there. And during the course of that, the city manager asked us to also work with the foundation to look at their operation, their financial situation, to see about reimbursing them for some of their extraordinary startup costs related to the Whitewater facility. If you recall, at the time the Whitewater facility contract was awarded, I believe it came in over budget slightly, and certain things were value engineered out of the city contract, and those were to be picked up by the foundation. The foundation did incur several $1 million in startup expenses related to the Boathouse Foundation. We've negotiated with them to reimburse them for an overall amount of $2 million. $759,000 of that is related to capital items that were a part of the original MAPS budget. The rest of the expenses are startup costs that are operational in nature, and the city plans to request that the City Council consider reimbursing those costs from the city's general fund. So the item before you today is for the MAPS funds portion of that project, a portion of that reimbursement. Just as additional information for you, we have also proposed an amendment to the Whitewater lease that makes certain changes in the foundation structure. It limits the board of directors to 11 directors, adds a city council person, creates an operations committee that has up to 3 members appointed by the city manager. It requires the foundation to hire a controller and a chief operating officer, and also requires them to complete a strategic plan. The Alliance funded an organizational assessment of the foundation, and these recommendations are a result of that to help improve their operations. They've done a remarkable job managing the Whitewater facility, incorporating it into their overall structure, but we think that there are certain changes that are needed now to help bring that organization to the next level of development, maybe out of the startup or infancy stage and into a more adolescent kind of organization. So again, you know, we recognize that this is a very important facility for Oklahoma City. It helps with economic development. It helps with our image. And we know many organizations use the Whitewater facility in the Boathouse District as a part of its recruitment efforts to bring new employees to Oklahoma City. So that's one of the other reasons why the manager asked me to get involved in it. So if there's any other questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those. Mike Knopp is here, that he can answer some of the specifics. The subcommittee did recommend approval of the funding, so with that, I'll be glad to take any questions.
Kathy, I'm a little chagrined why this is brought to us today. As I learned yesterday in our subcommittee meeting, David passed out information that there's somewhat $31 million, that a combination of interest and excess tax revenue, and obviously it's a windfall, and hopefully it will allow us to do a lot more. But the reason I say I'm a little chagrined by this today is that, can you tell me why we should act on this today as opposed to looking at it as we look at all of the other subcommittee requests for funding for things that they feel is critical or would like to do?
Well, I'm not familiar with all of the requests that you've received, but I would say that this is a reimbursement of the startup costs associated with one of the original MAPS 3 facilities. This isn't a new project, a new building or addition to one of the to a MAPS project. This is maybe more akin to a change order than it is to a new project, and so that's why we ask that you consider this request now. And, you know, frankly, the timing may be just a little coincidental. We've been working on this for several months, but wanted to make sure that we had done adequate evaluation and due diligence before we brought it forward.
I might add to that also, Mr. Dover, if you compare this to, let's just say, the street maintenance, the storage and maintenance facility for the streetcar, we're buying tens of thousands of dollars of FF&E in there. We did for the wellness centers too. If you recall, the Whitewater project came in over budget, significantly over budget, and we were scrambling to value engineer and pull things out. And in order to get the things that we needed to get for construction, the things that needed to be constructed, Mr. Knopp knew that he had to deal with some of these things. He was just kind of left out in swinging in the breeze, so to speak, with some of these things because we didn't have the money at the time. Specifically, I can say like the furniture that's on the list, even pump repair parts. We didn't even provide any kind of repair parts. We just gave them the pumps and went on with it. So there's a lot of things on here that were value engineered out or things that we would normally provide for another facility. That's what I can add.
Still doesn't really kind of address my issue of, until we look at the other subcommittees and what their requests or needs may be, it just seems that we're jumping the gun. Is there a reason why this could not be deferred for 30 days or 60 days?
Well, I mean, I think that the Boathouse Foundation has incurred these expenses. They had to borrow money, frankly, to meet some of their obligations, and from a financial perspective, it would greatly help the stability of the organization if we could make this reimbursement as soon as possible.
And I hear your case, but it just occurs to me that when the voters pass these MAPS projects, and I don't know that at least part of what I never thought about that we would do is kind of because, in this case, for whatever the reasons may be, that the foundation didn't have, provided the money and didn't have the money. I don't know that in itself is a reason that I kind of feel like this is almost what you're saying is because of their financial situation, that it's almost like it's a bailout for them. And which brings up, of course, for me anyway, a lot of other questions. I'm not even sure I understand the relationship that the city has with the Boathouse Foundation prior to this amendment, apparently, that regarding a parking lot a year or so ago. But be that as it may, I still feel real strongly that there are other projects that need to be looked at the same time. And that by doing this, what we're saying is this is important enough and critical enough that these other projects that we find may or may not be enough money for. But we're saying this one is over and above those. And I'm not ready to make that decision. And for me, I would move that we would defer this and put it on the schedule or the list as we evaluate and look at all of the other projects. Over a year ago, this board will remember when I came doing something about asking this advisory board to send a message to the council that a fifth wellness center in our community, if there were excess funds, that we should use some of those funds to do that. And it was quite a discussion at this board. And everyone, and I agreed at the time, everyone agreed that, you're jumping the gun, Mike. We need to see exactly how much money we have, but we also need to see what all the other subcommittee requests were. And that was reasonable, and I accepted that, and in fact voted for that. This sounds to me like it's something that we are saying is more important, and it can't wait a couple months. And that's just hard for me to.
The only thing I would say is that this is not an additional facility. This is one of the original MAPS 3 projects that has been administered by the advisory board.
And I would say that, Kathy, that we told the voters we were going to build 4 or 5 wellness centers as well, and we determined early on that the money we had would only build 4. But we told so if we have enough money to bail out, and it sounds like that's what you're saying because they're in financial situation, is that we have money to bail them out. I don't know that surpasses what the voters believe they were supporting when they voted for MAPS. So my motion may fail, of course, and I realize that, but I would kind of move that we defer this. Maybe there's enough money to do all of these things, and that's an ideal situation, that we have money to do all the things that all the subcommittees require, they think require or need. But until we look at them all together, I don't know that this is the message I want to send to the people that the people that I represent in Ward 2. So with that in mind, I would like to move that we defer this decision and look at it as we look at all the other issues and subcommittee reports.
I'd like to second his motion. And in doing so, what I want to do is be able to open it up so that we can have discussion. Because I agree with Mike in the fact that we had a number of projects where we've all got a wish list of things that we want to do, and we've been trying to develop and prioritize those wish lists within the subcommittees, but I wanted to be able to open up the discussion, so that's why I would second the motion.
I would make a couple of comments, I guess. One is I want to make it clear that this did not originate within the River Subcommittee. This is not their wish list that we've been talking about in the past. That this has come not even through the MAPS office. It's come, as a result of an amendment to a lease that's been negotiated with the city. And so, it being brought through this process because it does involve MAPS funds, but it's not. I don't want it to be confused with the future requests that may come from the River Subcommittee for excess funds. So,
And are we in the discussion period of that motion? So
I guess.
Okay. So, so I agree with the reasoning, but disagree with the conclusion. Just insofar that everything, voicing the concern about we need to look at how all the other wish list projects, stack up and see if there's money there. Totally agree with that, but I do come down on the side of this is materially different in that it's a reimbursement that it's already been, the monies have been spent, the work's already been done, it was already part of what was promised and delivered, and there is a sticker shock because it's a big number and it's different and unique because the way that it's structured is, I think, different than any of the other projects that we're working with. And so I'm not concerned about either establishing a precedent because of how unique it is, and I'm also not concerned about how it works with the other add-on projects because it's not an add-on project. And there was, you can either say that, well, I'm going to count this against the committee on future requests, and that is. You can either choose to do that or not, and that is what it is. But, when I saw that, the big number, there's the sticker shock, there's kind of the question about, wait, where did this come from? Then my next question was, well, what's being done to make sure that this isn't something that's recurring? And it was made clear to me that they've done a lot of work over the past several months, and Kathy made reference to that, to say, okay, this is a very unique project. There's only one other project like it in America, so there wasn't a lot of go-bys as far as how to manage this and how to do so in a financially sustainable way. Well, some lessons learned, and they've been incorporated, and there's some significant restructuring to what they're doing. That made me feel comfortable that, okay, this is not just a bailout and just to live another day. It's part of a restructuring and thinking about how can operations now adapt to what's now more of a mature facility as opposed to a startup. So for all those reasons, those are all kind of mitigating circumstances for me to kind of come around to say, I'm going to support this, and and so it's, as far as this particular motion, I'd rather just move ahead with it, and so I may end up voting against the deferment just because of those mitigating circumstances. But I'm with you on the concerns, and those are questions that I had that I feel like I've gotten my answer.
The committee voted to, move this forward with everyone's approval on it. And I would like to say that we couldn't have opened this facility without cash registers and furniture. We wouldn't have expected any other project to go minus those kind of things that are absolutely needed. And I think instead of deferring it, I think we need to just go ahead and take action with it today and get it out of the way and lead the way for other things to come up. So, my opinion.
I guess it's time for my 2 cents. First of all, I look back to the fact that when this project came up and it got bid and it was way over budget, everybody puckered because it scared us for all the projects moving forward. It was astronomical for how far over budget this project was. And I think Mike Knopp was very brave in leading a charge and saying, we as a foundation will do whatever it takes to make this happen, and carrying on the Aubrey McClendon spirit that I think all of us will always have a part of as Oklahoma Cityans in our body. So a new foundation with unknown precedents of another facility that they could sit down and say, hey, how does this operate? What do your costs look like? What do things look like? They went ahead and said, we'll take it on. Give us what you have right now. We'll do it because it's so important to have this facility. There was deadlines that had to be made. There were Olympic trials that had to be made. And so at this committee, we were charged with what we took an oath to, which is to review and recommend the best options we have with the information for us at the level we can decide, and we did. But that doesn't mean that had we known today we were going to have $31 million in excess collections, we would have said, hey, wait, take it on out. Take what you do need, because we're going to make it up in the future. Take what you do need to operate. Take what you do need to be successful, to market this not only to Oklahoma City, to Oklahoma, to the United States, to the world. We're an Olympic facility. That's a tremendous responsibility all of us at this horseshoe took on to help proceed, as did our city council, our mayor, and everyone that's been involved. And if we, as a governing body, cannot approve $800,000 for the success of a multi-million-dollar facility, then I don't think we're doing our job to review and recommend what is the best interest in this facility for moving forward. It's not just building it. All of these facilities have to have an operator. They have to have a successful operator. We gave more money to a health and wellness center after it was built because they didn't have enough yoga mats, they didn't have enough balls, they didn't have enough chairs, things that were operational. If the operator would have paid for those things and then said, we really would like to be reimbursed for them because there is money to do that, would we have said no? I don't think so, because they're operational things, the things the citizens expect to have there so that facility can operate. So I say this is a drop in the bucket compared to what they've spent as a foundation. And we have $31 million. We can do a lot with it, not just on this project, but all of the other projects. And those are things in looking forward. To me, this is just making this sure that this facility has a successful base to move forward. And I think that if they could have waited 60 days to bring it to us, it would have come to us in 60 days. If Kathy, right now, through the city manager, is bringing this to us today, it's important. And I agree we need to vote on it today.
Yeah, just a final comment. Again, I understand that the case everyone is making. I don't accept the fact that the foundation or the river experience is going to collapse if we wait 2 months. That doesn't make sense to me. I also don't understand why when this happened, and that they knew that these expenses, some $750,000, is we didn't know about that sooner. Why are we just learning about that now? To spend money that you don't have, I question kind of the decision-making process of how that was done. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I will point out as well, and Kim, you make a point about the Cedar Wells system, that we voted to give that organization money. But if some of you may or may not recall, I voted against that, and I serve as chair of that committee based on the same reasoning that I'm saying here today. And that is that we agreed that we would not spend more money on these subcommittees until we were able to look at all of these simultaneously and look and choose to see what recommendations we were going to send forward to the council. And I think I'm doing my fiduciary responsibility to follow through with that commitment. And so with that said, again, I guess it's time to call for the vote.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to defer the action on this item. All in favor of that motion, say aye. To defer. Okay. All opposed? Nay? Okay. The motion failed. So now we have before us the resolution as presented, the amended resolution as presented. Does anybody care to act on that? Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution as amended. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 15, recommend resolution approving amendment number 10, MAPS 3 Program Consultant Services Contract with ADG PC, fee increase of $1,942,749.08, retroactive to July 1, 2018, project M3-G001. David?
The retroactive to July 1 is because that it will end up at council after July 1, so that's why the language is on there. I wanted to answer that question right off the bat. This is the annual contract that we have for our consulting services. ADG is integral to the operations in the MAPS office, providing additional staff, providing plan checking estimates, and then they also have people out in the field for each of the projects. This is very similar to what we do every year, with the exception that this is actually a decrease from the amendment from last year. As we start to kind of wind the program down, the services that are required are decreasing. So as I said, this is less than what last year's increase was. With that, I try to answer any questions you might have.
Any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The resolution passes. Item 16, new business.
We don't have anything.
Okay. Item 17, MAPS 3 Citizen Advisory Board Subcommittee reports. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss?
Yesterday at the streetcar subcommittees, we heard wind of some of this stuff for requests for monies from the excess collections that we would like to, or where would we put those. So we've submitted into the minutes of the subcommittee a list of projects that we would like to vet through the city MAPS group and ADG, or however they want to do it. But it's just we're beginning to build our list so that we can come forward whenever the decision is made that now is the time. So I just wanted to point it out that we've made direction to begin that process. And we also did that in the earlier meeting in the morning for the Trails and Sidewalk Subcommittee to create a list that will eventually become forward to the board to compete with the other subcommittees, the other projects for a prioritization. So that's all I have.
And I'll just add real quick, I wasn't able to go to yesterday's meeting, but I voiced my my support for our list. I mean, my own just napkin math, which David cringes when I do my napkin math. But, you know, it seems like we can do a lot of our work, if not all of it, and it would fit if you kind of want to look at it that way as far as what's left. But also, you know, we are being a little bit proactive with our list, just because we're under construction right now and want to be able to take advantage if there's efficiencies while the labor's out there and while they're working, to be able to take advantage of that. So that's why we're moving ahead with that.
Okay. Any other reports from any subcommittees?
I have some from the parks. We met yesterday, although we did not have a quorum. We did have a great amount of discussion. One of our topics, too, were items for the list of things that we felt were priorities for the parks in looking at the unexpended overages and collections. We also had some excitement from the Scissortail Park Foundation. Back on June 21st, we unveiled the Scissortail Park logo to the public, which was really great. If you remember, we had lots of children from the YMCA's downtown camp helping to unveil the name, and some of those children came back to help us unveil the actual logo, and we're really excited that the tagline on the park says, "For everyone." And so we've decided that when the park opens, we're going to bring those kids back and have a picnic with them. So they were very excited about that. The foundation has also hired its first 2 employees. One is a director of marketing and fundraising, and then we have a public awareness person in there. So we will have people out on the street building awareness of the Scissortail Park, and also looking at building fundraising projects for the park. And then finally, day before yesterday, the 3 teams of artists that are in the final runoff for our art piece to be at the corner of Robinson and the Boulevard were here in the city. There is a committee for the art selection for that through Robbie Kinzel in her office. And they did an outside 2.5-hour inspection of the area in the heat, in the, in the dirt. But it gave those teams a real interesting perspective of the site itself, how important this art piece is to the city, to that I call still the 400% corner, because it seems like there's a lot more than 100% going on. And it was very interesting to hear the feedback of the artists, as apparently many of them have not been on a construction site to try to visualize where their art is going. So Hargraves is going to be providing them some 3D modeling views so that they can get more of a real-life perspective. But they were very excited, and we are tremendously excited. There was over 126 artists worldwide that responded to the RFP for the art. So the committee spent an arduous day touring that down to the last 3 finalists, but we should be very proud of what Oklahoma City is building for itself in a worldwide reputation.
Okay. Any other subcommittee reports? Okay. Item 18, informational item.
You'll see that Mr. Harding will be vice chair for the next year.
Is there like a rule that I have to sit by myself from now on? Is that what's happening right now?
Okay. Item 19, update and status of MAPS 3 program.
I think we talked about most of the projects. You had an update on trails. The only thing we haven't mentioned is that the convention center has started construction. They're out there doing dirt work, just getting after it. Rain slowed them down a little bit last week, but well under construction, so we're glad to have that. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. This is the time for comments from boards, staff, and citizens. Does anybody on the board have any comments?
I have a comment. I just want to say that, again, I appreciate the process that we have here, and Mike seems like he might be sometimes maybe in the minority, but I still appreciate what you bring to the table. So, you know, we represent all the citizens, and so it's good to hear all sides of the argument and, you know, the pros and cons. And we do represent our wards, but we also have our own opinions. And so certainly I bring my own opinion to the table, and sometimes I might feel like I might be representing, but truly I know it's my opinion on items. But I think that's the value of this. We're citizens. And so it's, you know, it's that concerted effort that we have that's brought us here time after time. And we're making good judgments, we're making good decisions for the good of our city, and I'm really proud of our city. I have 3 grown children. I know for a fact that 2 of my 3 children would not be here without the progress that has happened in the city, and specifically the involvement that they've learned about MAPS, and they have all been a part of many things. And in particular, I just want you to know that the ukuleleans from Senior Wellness Center number 1, I mean, we've had 3 concerts now, so it's continuing. So,
Any comments from staff? Okay, we have opportunity for citizens to speak. We have Mr. James Cooper. Would you like to speak?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to hear such a robust conversation. This was great. Do I need to get my address? I know when you speak at the council, you need to do that.
Sure.
Okay, James Cooper, 619 Northwest 28th Street. Live in the Paseo. actually want to double down a bit on what you were saying. You know, I've served for the last 3 years on COTPA, our city's transportation board. I teach middle school on the south side. I wouldn't be in Oklahoma City were it not for MAPS. And I really missed it. You know, I was born in '82. MAPS happened, the first one in '93, and I was plotting my escape the entire '90s. I didn't see it yet, right? You know, it didn't quite make sense. And then I got to grad school in Stillwater, and we all passed, whoever did, MAPS 3, the voters, and that changed it. The streetcar changed it. It was a game changer. The senior wellness centers changed it. My mom is a retired registered nurse out in Midwest City where I grew up. And she wants to age in place with dignity, you know? And that means a lot to me as her son. It's one of the reasons why I stayed. And so I love this debate, and I'm very excited. I didn't know about these excess funds until just the last couple of days. So I'm very excited to hear there's going to be a process where you all are going to hear from all of the different departments, and I would really encourage you to listen. As a middle school teacher, it's kind of hard for me sometimes because my students will talk, and you know, it's like hard to listen. You hear, but you don't listen, you know, and I have to teach them that too. So I'll be listening to what you all do. As a COTPA member, however, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I would like to see you all really think about those streetcar funds, making sure that when this streetcar comes online at the end of the year, that it comes online with the adequate funding to make sure that we have frequency, 10 to 12 minutes. And we really need to think about that. We need to make sure this is a success. It cannot be Atlanta. And you all know what I'm talking about. It can't be that. We can't be that. You all have spent so much time engaging our citizens and listening to us and listening to each other that if we don't do this right, we're not going to get another chance, right? First impressions matter. This December matters. It is so weird being up here and talking like this. I'm just so excited to be here and hear what you all are saying. And I would just say that the reason why for me the streetcar was key for me moving from Stillwater after grad school here was because my generation wants good quality of life. It's like your sons. We want to make sure that we, well, I live in Paseo. That's the story. That's the story. They designed that neighborhood so it was walkable. So no matter you were K through 12, my generation, the millennials, or senior citizen, you could walk to where you need to go. I learned that story recently. I didn't know that story until recently. I didn't prepare this speech, by the way. I just had learned about what's going on and I wanted to come talk to you all. We need to live in walkable neighborhoods, and my mom needs to be able to get to a pharmacy and a senior wellness center with as little obstacles as possible. And that means good sidewalks, and that means ADA compliant sidewalks and bus shelters, and that means buses that run every 10 to 12 minutes, and that means streetcars that run every 10 to 12 minutes, and that it all works together. So I would hope that we do think about additional senior wellness centers, wherever the density and wherever our people are. And I would encourage you all to listen to all the departments and see what else is there. Is that sidewalks? Is that streetlights? What do we need? So it's been my honor to serve on COTPA. Such an honor. It was one of the reasons why I decided to run for council again this week, and I'm really excited about that opportunity and to go out there and knock those doors and listen to people. But listening to you all today was so invigorating. You all listened to each other. It was so cool. That was so cool. And I just want you to know that that's something I'm going to take back to all my friends and encourage them to go online and listen to the debate you all just had here. So,
Thank you very much. Anything else?
I just wanted to congratulate Nathaniel Harding on his bid for running for city council for Ward 6.
I guess we have another request for citizen speak. Jeff Bezdek.
Hi, I'm Jeff Bezdek. I serve on your MAPS 3 Transit Subcommittee, and I just want to reiterate what our chairman and vice chairman said, and also say that in our deliberations about the excess funds and our wish list, we've dialed it back considerably from what we wish for in terms of like expanding the system or building beyond the current design, and focused on what have we missed through the process that will make it work right for the citizens, what will actually lessen the liability to COTPA in coming years from an infrastructure standpoint, infrastructure cost. And so our focus and emphasis is on making our current system work better. Now, I've been working on this for 10 years, and that I was going to submit the list that we submitted to the subcommittee yesterday for the minutes of this meeting as well. But I would also caution you, staff has been very cautious in saying, we really don't want to put forward any additions to any projects until all of the subcommittees have put forth their ideas. We do have at least probably half of our list, which is time sensitive, because we have families that have moved from Kansas City, from Phoenix, from Dallas. They relocated our city to build the streetcar system, and after it opens in December, they'll be gone. So while it's politically salient for us as a subcommittee to wait, and we respect everyone's desires, I think that I can competently say that a majority of the subcommittee members would like us to move forward with the items that are time sensitive, bring them to you for approval, and that's why I'm submitting our list today, so you kind of have an idea. We're hoping that it's less than this preliminary list. It has to be vetted and further dialed in, and we have to get bids and go through that process, and that's actually why we're debating this now, because the construction is going to wrap up. So with that, I submit the list for the minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll speak as a citizen now, because I am a citizen. And giving Jeff's point, I was sitting here as he was talking, thinking, is there not a reason why, and maybe there is, because of how much time you have to allow for have meetings, is there a reason why we couldn't have special meetings called before our next regularly scheduled meeting, subcommittee, to spend more time on actually doing what we talked about doing in terms of developing those lists, and maybe is it just not practically possible there?
We can. Summertime,
I know.
Traditionally, we have attendance issues, and we would have to get all the subcommittees together.
I know, but again, given some of the things I think about, my beliefs, and given what Jeff said, and it might be something, I don't know, I'd like to hear what other people think, if that would be possible. We could perhaps then be able to spend more time at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Just a random thought, as Jeff was.
Any other comments? I guess it's time to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.